Ain't nothing peculiar about the way that I was raised, and my heart is on the way.
Hello everybody, I hope all my unicorn warriors are doing great, wonderful, and fabulous. And I wanted to come on here, and before we really got into this video, I wanted to kind of give a little backstory and introduce this person as well. And I've talked with them, and they said it was okay if I used their stuff on TikTok, and because I really like the way that they're kind of going back as well. And she was someone that was like really close with the case too in the beginning, and kind of had to step back like some other content creators. And but she's come back, and I really like the way that she explains things and how she's able to break it down, and you know, and to a way that it's easier to comprehend and take in the information. So so thank you to her, and I will leave all her, well, you'll see her, and you'll see her information and everything. And but so I just wanted to give her a quick shout out for that. And but I saw a video this morning. It really made some things click, and I'm so glad she did this video. And because it brings back something that, you know, we probably haven't really thought too much about here lately. I mean, maybe a little bit more here lately, but you know, like for a while we wasn't thinking about it. But the way she breaks this down, it made a lot of things click. So I told her I had some photos and some other things and everything. So, and I was going to add it to her explanation of everything. But y'all remember going back to Susie's like leaked interviews or leaked conversations, and then other interviews she's given, and how she's had like different stories, and there's like, you know, 3 of them like we had memorized on the top of our head, and that's not counting the, you know, the other little stories she's told in between and to other people. And we know that they like to, Susie Sloozy and JP Diddy, they like to, you know, reuse the same stories and the same narratives, and they just rewash it and repeat. Said whenever Nick was talking, it really, you know, helped things click better in my head, and I was like, wait a minute, you know, going back to the chess. So so yeah, I'm a like do my little side by side thing that we like to do over here. And so let me know your thoughts. And I know where Susie and JP Diddy got the whole chess thing from. I got it now.
Do you remember that game, chess? Chess is more relevant in the seeking justice for Mica and justice for Chris Skinner way more than what you realize. John Paul Miller has used the word chess several times in regards to Chris Skinner and Mica. When it came to Mica, he claimed that when Mica was having a alleged so-called schizophrenic moment, or a moment of bipolar, that she would sit and play chess by herself with nobody on the opponent's side. Something that was also brought up on the morning of the alleged accidental drowning of Chris Skinner. Allegedly, that particular morning that Chris Skinner allegedly accidentally drowned, he was supposed to be meeting someone by the pool to play chess. The word chess has always stayed with me as a clue and something that carries more substance and depth to it than what we are picking up coming from John Paul Miller. I was praying and praying and praying. And one of the things that came back to me is this entire situation in John Paul Miller's eyes is just one big game of chess for him. Let's think about this for a second. We know that John Paul Miller has a rap sheet longer than long. He has attempted to run people over with his vehicle. There are just numerous things that he has done. Then you go to the first person that passes away that's linked to John Paul Miller and the scandals surrounding John Paul Miller. And that started with Chris Skinner was the first victim. And why was Chris Skinner the first victim? Because John Paul Miller was having an affair with Susie Skinner, Chris Skinner's wife at the time. And 2 weeks before he passed away, quadriplegic or not, he confronted John Paul Miller and forbid him and demanded that he stay away from his wife and children. Mysteriously and very randomly, 2 weeks to the day, Chris Skinner is found at the bottom of a pool alleging he either committed his own life away or he accidentally just hit the wrong button and accidentally drowned himself. Until we found out that his wheelchair could be remote accessed and used. Remember, the day he passed, he was there allegedly meeting someone to play chess. You don't think that's very weird and strange that the second Chris Skinner approaches John Paul Miller and demands that he stays away from his wife and children 2 weeks later after being quadriplegic for over 2 decades, this man is accidentally going to drown himself? Come on. And of course, who shows up at the scene shortly after Susie Skinner? None other than John Paul Miller himself and Mica. Now, Mica was there not knowing at that particular time that John Paul Miller was very much in a full-fledged on relationship with Susie Skinner, which is why when Mica went to comfort Susie, Susie pushes her off. And there's also a photo scene of footage of Susie Skinner throwing her hands up in the air as she did when she married John Paul Miller, praising Jesus that Chris Skinner had passed away. In that footage, you see John Paul Miller trying to put her hands down as to say, don't do that, don't do that. He didn't want her giving away anything. And why did he wait 2 weeks before harming Chris Skinner? Because some time had to go by in between that initial confrontation so it didn't seem so obvious. See, he was using and weaponizing Chris Skinner's situation against him to his benefit. Then you think of the next person that really started finding things out, and as soon as she found things out, all of a sudden she's in a state park that she's never been to, allegedly unaliving herself. Mind you, this comes literally 48 hours after Mica serves John Paul Miller with divorce papers. He finds out that she's reported solid rock to the IRS and that she is more awake now than ever, and she has shown that she is going to fight and fight to the very end. And guess what? Instead, he sends out the group of people that went on a first trip with her that he knew damn well, just like in chess, he made these moves and placed these people in a different continent because each and every one of those people were friends with Mica. They would have listened to Mica. They would have tried to help Mica in some way or the other, which is why John Paul Miller was infuriated when he found out after she died that somebody had given her the money and helped her so that she could even retain Regina Ward in the first place. And why was he mad? Because he had made sure that he controlled everything, including finances, and he had made it impossible for Mica to move right or left without having to need him or think that she needed him. But Mica was showing different. Mica had gone out there and gotten herself a job. Mica was gathering all kind of evidence and giving it to her attorney. Mica was in the fight of her life, and she knew it. Mica did not commit suicide. She just did not. This woman, as soon as those divorce papers were served to John Paul Miller, all of a sudden he sends out this group church. Look at how obvious this is. He sends these people back out on a mission and then, air quote, ensures that his alibi is that he's in Charleston, a couple of hours away at a soccer tournament where there's hundreds of witnesses, yet no one has come forward ever and vouched for this man. There's never been any receipts. There's never been anything to prove that he was actually there. He just made it seem like that, another chess move in his game, so that obviously it could come back to him that he had harmed her. But what is the likelihood he sends out all the people on another trip, removes himself, and then all of a sudden Mica just commits suicide? No, that's a bunch of bullshit, and we are going to uncover all of this. Chess.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know your thoughts. And if today's your birthday, happy birthday!